All right, I will call this City Council meeting to order. Before I start the meeting today, I just want to share an important updates regarding city leadership. City Manager Brent Stockwell has submitted his resignation effective immediately, and the City Council has accepted. On behalf of the council, I want to thank Brent for his service to the City of Tiger. We wish him well in his future endeavors. To ensure continuity in day-to-day operations, Acting City Manager Emily Trish will continue to serve in the interim. The council will begin discussions about the process for identifying long-term leadership. Throughout this transition, our focus remains on supporting our employees, maintaining stability, and continuing to deliver the high-quality services our community expects and deserves. Thank you. So with that, City Recorder Krager, would you please conduct a roll call?
Councillor Robbins is absent. Councillor Schlack?
Here.
Councillor Shaw? Here. Council President Wolf?
Here.
Youth Councillor Hellick?
Here.
Councillor Gadusi?
Present.
Mayor Hu?
Here. Apologize, Deputy City Recorder. I didn't see you were there. All right, so would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, city teammates and councilor, do you have any non-agenda item?
None from us, Mayor.
All right. Seeing none, we will move on to public comments. So the calling number is 503-966-4101, and those wishing to comment should call now to get into the queue. Anyone present wanting to comment should sign up on the public comment form at the front of the room. So regarding written comments, we received 2 written public comments received by Monday noon deadline. The comments were about concerns with River Terrace Parks and city funding priorities. Now we move on to in-person public comment. And we have one person sign up, and it's Mohammed, AKA Mo. Yes, welcome, sir. So, and yeah, please turn on the mic and state your name and your city of residence, and you have 2 minutes after that.
All right, thank you. My name is Mahmoud. I go by Mo. I'm staying here in Tigard. As you may know, I'm your resident here on the lawn of Public Works. I showed up 2 weeks ago in terms of the voting. So I guess I want to inquire about what came about with the voting of dismantling the campsite. That's one. Second, I could start with stories of what happened to me at Just Compassion and what led me to being on your streets. And for that reason, I am calling for a change in management of Just Compassion as I take it, it has been, the position has been nominated, it was given to him, so I am asking for a vote in change of management from Director Maury, I mean, even above him, Michael Maury, Savannah, and some of the employees that they have there. They have shown that they are inadequate in providing safe haven for displaced people, for people of mental difficulties. They have shown that they are not one that will resolve anything. In fact, I'm still being, if I show up there, the cops are called because of Savannah. some reason why. I was ejected from the program without due process. I was not given a written notice. I was not given a chance to appeal it. I was not given a chance to sit in front of board members to discuss why. And all of this was part of their policy. Their policy has changed 3 times since I've been there. This all goes to show that it's a great place. The idea is great. Unfortunately, the way it's been run is very poorly.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Staff have your contact information, so somebody will get back to you.
All right, I appreciate
Thank you so
Mayor,
much.
Council. Thank you. Good evening.
All right, next item is phone and video. So Mr. Van, if there are any callers in the phone in queue or video request?
There are no callers in the queue, and we have no video requests.
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
There are no callers in the queue and no video submissions.
Okay, there are none. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to community updates. So regarding Tiger Chamber of Commerce, chamber update has been moved, and the next update is planned for January 2026. And next item is Tiger High School Envoy, and so we have, I see Becca online. So we have Tiger High School Envoy Becca Karsravani online. So Becca, are you ready to provide your update?
Yes, I am. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hello, Council. Thank you so much for having me today. I apologize for the technical difficulties at the last meeting. A lot has been going on at Tiger to kick off the second quarter. I'm going to start off with athletics. Our fall sports wrapped up and winter sports began on Monday. Also on Monday, girls and boys basketball held tryouts. Cheer will host winter tryouts tomorrow, and they competed in their first competition of the season on Saturday at Sherwood High School. In that same realm, the Tigerettes dance team is entering competition season this weekend, and our girls volleyball team celebrated their senior night on October 13th and wrapped up their season on the 23rd. The National Honor Society is having their blood drive on December 4th, and students over the age of 16 are encouraged to sign up as donors. This is actually open to the community, and it's from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And then on a bit of a personal note, the Intercombio Mentorship Program finished our second mentoring session with the 8th grade mentees about an hour ago. We recently had the opportunity to share our classroom with Superintendent Udo Sonata, which was a wonderful experience. And then the theater program has been working very diligently on their show, Merry Wives of Windsor. They performed for the second week at the Shakespeare Fall Festival at Portland Center for the Arts. The final 2 shows are this Thursday and Friday at 7 p.m., and I encourage you all to attend if you're able. They are just absolutely fantastic, and the crew has been working tirelessly. Stud executed Red Ribbon Week the week of October 27th, and each day incorporated a new activity such as pledges, rallies, booths, and lunchtime activities. And each event was meant to promote their mission, which is to stop underage drinking and drugs. They also gave out some wonderful red t-shirts that you may have seen, which read, "Life is a puzzle, solve it drug-free." And the student body absolutely loved it. In terms of our yearbook, publication started senior superlative voting, and they are working hard to document Tiger events for the yearbook. And senior portraits are due on the 30th of this month. The leadership class has been very busy these past few months. Our activities committee pulled off the homecoming parade, and it was very nice getting to see some of you at that event. They are now planning a class Thanksgiving type potluck. The assemblies committee is planning for the winter assembly, as well as working in partnership with our human rights random acts of kindness committee to organize our winter wishes. And then our ICCF committee, which is Interclub Council Funds, is organizing a wall for club flyers. The communications committee is redesigning the chalkboards in our main hallway. And our Spirit and SIA committees are finding ways to celebrate athletic seniors and seniors in the visual and musical arts. And I believe that sums it up for the past couple of months. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate being able to finally talk cohesively to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Becca. The microphone is working perfectly this time, so thank you. Councilors, do you have any comments or questions
Wonderful.
for Becca? Seeing none, thank you again, Becca.
Thank you so much.
All right, next item is Tiger Police Department report, and I will invite Chief McDonald to present the dashboard report. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Jamie McDonald. I'm your police chief. And I have some data for you from the October of this year dashboard. And what I'd like to highlight for you is that I have 4 slides, which we'll go through rather quickly, mainly because I want to show you the consistency of where we respond to calls. So each one of those dots there indicates a call for service. And this is traffic, so where we've made traffic stops and had other things like car crashes, things of that nature. So you can see a lot of them, the cluster there kind of that zooms kind of from the bottom middle up to the right is 99W. And then up in the upper portion there, that's Shoals Ferry. You can see along 217 and then scattered around some of the other main routes. So you can see that the bulk of our traffic enforcement ends up in on the more main routes of the city, but you can see that it is spread rather evenly around the city. And part of what that represents is we get a lot of complaints from members of the community about different parts of the city and enforcement efforts in those parts of the city. And I just wanted to show you that we actually do try and spend time in as much of the city as possible. And that goes back to some of that self-initiated activity that we've talked about this year, which still year to date, we've tracked up about 5% for the year, which is pretty substantial considering that our calls for service for dispatch calls is up about 4.5% for the year as well. So workload for the officers has increased over the year, but that's also commensurate with the staffing increases. Next slide, please. So this shows person calls, and you can see that it's remarkably consistent with our traffic calls. And so person calls are things like assaults or other things that would impact people more directly. Next slide, please. These are property calls. And as you can see, those are also rather consistent with what you've seen in the other 2 slides. I'll call out the ones that have the white dot with the red circle around them. Those are what we would consider a really high priority call. So those are the ones that are like an immediate life safety type of a thing. So those are, it could be anything from a burglary in progress, for example, which would create a priority 1 response. If it were on a person call, and you'll see this in the next one, so go to next slide, please. In the other category, those would be like person calls that are not associated with an assault, so a call that involves a weapon potentially. So no one's been injured or there isn't an allegation of an injury, but it's a weapon call. So that's what those are there. And you can see that the other calls they're very much clustered along the same areas. And included in the other calls are also those societal calls. So a lot of the things where we are dealing with our homeless individuals. And I did want to give an update. One of the things that was discussed a few weeks ago when we were talking about some of the changes is tracking our efforts with regard to that. We'll be reporting on it in full, but just for example, I pulled some of the statistics, and let me preface this with our community-oriented policing officers are great working out in the community. They're not awesome with data entry. We're working on it. But for one of the officers, the first week of this month, he had 23 calls for service. He visited 18 camps, 18 people, and issued 1 exclusion. So that's just for one officer, working on getting the data corrected for the rest of the month. But that gives you an example of how much we're coming in contact with folks that are unhoused. And that's largely what our 2 community-oriented policing officers are responsible for doing. Wanted to touch on two other things really quickly. One, some of you I know have heard this. We've had some community members, I don't know about complain, but certainly bring it to our attention that some of the photo enforcement intersections, specifically the one here at Hall and 99, is flashing excessively. And it has been, but it is something that is being corrected. And I will say it's not missing the violations. So the public safety statement here is still drive carefully, please, and follow the rules of the road. But what we have had is it's recalibrating way more than it should be. So they're working on it, getting that taken care of. So if you do hear from feedback from community members, it is being worked on it. And I'm happy to say the new vendor is incredibly responsive. So working very well with us. The last thing I want to hit is kind of a bit of excitement for us. So I know that many of you have been following our community engagement efforts throughout the year, and I'm happy to say, so last year we finished the year with 9,000-ish contacts through our community engagement events. As of this evening, Maddie let me know we are at 11,502 people that we've contacted through community engagement. They're doing a Cocoa with a Cop as we speak, and she's confident we're going to hit 12,000 for the year. So that would be a huge increase. So a huge effort with making connections with the community through our community engagement that we've been doing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Chief. That's impressive. Councilors, any comments or questions? Councilperson Wolf, please go ahead.
So thank you so much, Chief, for the update. And I will say that I saw someone sitting in mining Gardy on my way here this evening. So they are on duty for sure. And the only other thing, it's a comment. I'm just excited. I was looking at those unavailable for work. And what is really exciting are the ones that are in training for the academy. And then working on recruits and training. And so that was by far the majority, and that's just an exciting point that I wanted to flag, to see that many going through the process to become Tigard officers. So.
Yeah, it is very exciting. Thank you for bringing that up. We had Officer Julianne Erickson graduate last Friday from the police academy, and she's back on the ground, very excited. She was going through some of our post-academy training this week, and she'll jump right into field training next week. So, and she's super excited to be back from the academy too. It's a long grind.
Councilor Schlack.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for the updates. I know last night was the kickoff event for unveiling the model for the new, hopefully new Police Department Public Works facility. Would you be able to speak a little bit more to that event and just generally where things are at on that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, last night we hosted an event, and thank you for those of you that had the opportunity to get there and see it as well. What we did is we brought in the architect, the general contractor that will build the facility, and our consultant that's helping us with making sure that we do the right thing and that the city gets that our interests are properly represented. But we brought that whole team together and had flyers and billboards and a cool balsa wood model that I guess was laser cut, and they were putting it together at the last second, which is true to form, right? But it really gave the community an opportunity to see what a new facility for police and public works will look like. And really, I think, started filling in some of those blanks for folks to be able to ask questions like, well, how about this? And what about this? And why will it cost so much to do these types of things? And it was great to have the experts from the people that will actually build the facility there to help explain that. And it really helped answer a lot of questions from community members. I talked to several folks that came in with a number of different questions about a variety of things about the project, and they left with all their questions answered. So I found it to be very informative, even for myself, and I'm in the meetings every week talking about what this facility can bring to this community and to the first responders, the people that are out doing the work on the ground every day. And it's amazing to me how much goes into this and how complex it is. So it was really neat to be able to share kind of behind the scenes with the community. So it really is exciting to see where we could go with a project like this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very cool, and I hope we have the model somewhere in a public space soon, so that way community members who weren't able to attend last night are able to come see it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
All right, anybody else? That's it. Okay, thank you so much, Chief. Have a good
You're welcome.
evening.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is council board and committee liaison reports. Who would like to start? All right, Councilor Schaaf, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended 2 meetings since our last communication to our constituents. Yesterday, I attended the Tigard Economic Development Strategic Plan Workshop in addition to Councilor Schlack. So we had a number of community members there, as well as individuals who do economic development, as well as city staff. It was a very robust conversation and a very good use of about half a day's time. And then also attended the Transportation Advisory Committee. We were supposed to have an update from ODOT regarding certain projects, including the overpass over 217. That's been delayed to the end of this month. So looking forward to that, because I know there is still some work that needs to be done, particularly on the 217 Hall overpass. And then we also discussed the TSP Vision Zero and the McDonald Street project. And that is the update I have this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Youth Councilor?
We are finishing up the clothing drive on Wednesday, so tomorrow. And we've gotten quite a few donations, I think, so far. I don't know exactly how many, but I think Alex is going to help us turn those into Just Compassion, either on Thursday or next Monday or something. Eventually those will get turned in. And then on the 28th of November, so in like 10 days, we're doing a teen movie night with Family Promise, because we were talking about teen engagement in the facility, because they have a lot of kid engagement and they have a lot of family-friendly engagement, but not a lot of spaces specifically for teens, which doesn't really encourage them to leave their rooms. So we are having a movie night with K-pop Demon Hunters, and we're trying to figure out snacks or something to bring for that. That is what we're
All
doing.
right, thank you. Council President Wolf?
Sorry about that. 2 meetings. First one is the West Side Economic Alliance, and a couple things to point. The same individual that did the State of Business Economic Forecast that most of us heard also presented to the board. Again, similar themes. And then the other thing that's really exciting and interesting for WEA is they're looking at gaining, so they wouldn't move away from their current corporate status, but adding a 501c3 component so they could do more research on economic development and then be able to apply for grants and all those opportunities that a 501c3. And so they are just starting that process of approval, but very exciting for WEA to add that to their portfolio. And then the second one, as council president, sitting on the governmental affairs and policy committee, public policy for the Tigard Chamber. A couple things to note from that discussion is they participated in the street fees update, and the only feedback is they're curious. It seems a lot of that model is based on one city's kind of design, and are there other options there, and better clarity on kind of the buckets of the fees. So that was the feedback from that meeting. And then I think that we continue to have conversations with them about building a better Tigard, and Councilor Schlack and I will be presenting to them about building a better Tigard on December 18th, and then jumping back to WEA, I will be presenting to them on December 10th at the board retreat, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Schlack?
I still need to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. That's my update for everyone. As Councilor Shaw mentioned, yesterday we were in a 5-hour economic development strategy workshop with a number of members of the leadership team who are present at the meeting tonight. I thought it was a very productive meeting. I'm looking forward to the next workshop in December as we work towards council goal number 2. Regarding regular sort of liaison roles, I attended a meeting of the Planning Commission on November 3rd. There are two main items of business that will be coming before council on December 2nd. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended that that an annexation, Sanders annexation, ZCA 2025-00001 be approved by council. This is just an individual parcel of land to be incorporated into the city. And then also the big one, the legislative annexation of River Terrace 2.0, ANX 2025-0001. This is, the triple majority where we're trying to annex all of River Terrace 2.0. So those will be coming up on December 2nd. And then I also, Mayor, were you planning on covering Town Center? Okay. Mayor and I both attended Town Center Advisory Commission. There was a very productive check-in with the police department in which the main topic was around our homelessness response in our TIF districts. There was also a review of the draft annual report, which the council will be receiving in the next few months, as well as 72nd Avenue redevelopment site discussion. Those are my updates.
Thank you. Councilor Gattusi.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of the meetings that I was able to participate with, one of them was the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. There was a very spirited discussion about hard courts at Summer Lake. There seems to be a lot of parking conflicts with the neighborhood, which ends up being an issue with enforcement. And so they've talked a lot about some of the ways moving forward in order to get that relationship between the pickleball players and the neighborhood, specifically looking at things like, program scheduling, how we're going to enforce things and that kind of thing. And then there was the update for the Tigard Cinema redevelopment site and discussing community input for that revitalization. They will be presenting to council in January. For the library board, the big news, of course, is that the levy passed, so that's exciting. Of course, 19% of the funding for the library comes from those levies, and it seems the Board of County Commissioners unanimously approved the partner recommendations for library funding methodology. Some other things at the library, the inclusive tech station has arrived, and that includes things like wheelchair access, large print keyboards, and accessible touchball mouse. And the roofing work still continues and will continue to extend for a couple of weeks.
Thank you. For me, I attended several regional meetings, first time as mayor, and just highlight the county chair, highlight again the continued budget challenges at the county level. So they will have to take a hard look at their core service and what kind of service level they can, realistically provide in the long-term future. So, and again, she thanked all the city for their support for the 2 levy that passed. And also at that meeting, and also as the regional mayor meeting, there was discussion of the Metro is looking at SH funding and management and oversight model. So. I asked staff to take a look at that, so to identify any opportunity that for us as a city to advocate for any SH management structure or funding possibility to help mid-sized city like us who have really punched above our own weight in terms of providing services. Also, on October 23rd, Councilors Shaw and Schlag and I went to the Home Building Association of Greater Portland's 2026 housing forecast. And the highlight is just that the region is facing a sharp economic slowdown. In the Portland metro region, we lost more than 16,000 jobs for the past year. And interesting enough that Portland is actually among the few major metro areas with a negative job growth, so that's not a good look. Population growth has stalled and will have been shrinking without international immigration. However, despite shrinking population, housing demand continues to grow because of our structure shortage. In other words, we haven't been building enough housing. And smaller household sizes is growing. That means actually there will be more households, even though there's a shrinking population. So there's a continued need for more housing. That's why we are still working on it. And the interesting thing is fewer than 20% of listing right now are affordable to medium income households. So there's demand for housing and also more demand for affordable housing. October 29th, I attended Metro Regional Partners Workshop on garbage and recycling fee and rates. And I learned a lot about how Metro set their rates based on their goals. But the highlights that I'm happy to tell you that Metro is working, is striving to be more transparent about the rate setting process because they say there's a lot of requests for that. And hopefully I'm one of those requests. And they are very open to explore more public-private partnerships to make operations more efficient. So they will not think that they are the only party who can do this. If there's a private partners who can do the job, they will leverage that. So yeah, that's all I have. So thank you very much. All right, so next item on the agenda is consent agenda. The consent agenda is used for routine items. Information on each item is available on the city's website in the packet for the meeting. This item may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Council members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Tonight, we have two consent items: a resolution to consider a temporary lease of TCDA-owned property and a resolution to apply for a DLCD technical assistance grant. So I open up for discussion or motion, councilors.
Mayor, I'd like to make a move to approve the consent agenda as presented, unless there is discussion.
I was hoping if we could separate out the DLCD technical assistance grant. I'd love to get just a quick overview of that one for the benefit of the community, since it ties into River Terrace 2.0.
Okay, so
I could amend the motion. So I'll amend the motion to move to approve the considering the temporary lease of TCDA-owned property for parking.
second. All right, is there any further discussion on that item? See, now I just want to briefly mention that I talked to staff, and staff have confirmed that Costco's intent is limited to employee parking only, not for any storage of goods or equipment. With that clarification, I'm comfortable moving forward. So there's a motion and second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. So the motion carries. So let's move on to the second item, the DLCD Technical Assistance Grant. Senior Planner Gata here. Please go forward. Councilor Schlack, do you have any questions or any specific direction you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking over it, reading the feasibility study for the creation of a new TIF district in River Terrace 2.0, and it jogged my memory and took me back to June of 2024 when I was going through the appointment process. I was like, what if we put a TIF district out in River Terrace 2.0? And I read, I was like, my gosh, it's being considered. So I just wanted to hear just sort of a brief overview for the benefit of the council and the community about what is being looked into and how it could work out there. Nothing fancy, just high level.
Great, thank you for that question. So this grant would first and foremost allow us to have the financial resources to do a feasibility study to even see if the creation of a tax incremental financing district is a good idea. You know, we need to understand not only is it feasible, but what the resources would be if we actually move forward with that, and what the impact of those resources would be, and then kind of weigh the cost and benefits of that. So the creation of a TIF district in River Terrace 2.0 was one of the identified strategies in the draft housing plan that was released back in June. And it recognizes that by creating a TIF district, it creates a funding source where we can allocate financial support for things like affordable housing or even infrastructure costs to help with targeted needed housing or commercial improvements in that area. And then Sean, do you want to share more specifics about what could come out of a TIF district?
I mean, the grants is going to take a look at the feasibility. There would be a long process. If the grant work turns out that it's feasible, then we'll present it to council. You guys would decide whether if we should move ahead, and then there'd be a long process working with taxing jurisdictions, working with Washington County, going to the Planning Commission. They would all have to, basically be okay with that idea to set up a new TIF district in the River Terrace area.
Thank you. I have no further questions, and I move to approve the Department of Land Conservation and Development Technical Assistance Grant.
I'll second.
The motions are being proposed and second. Any other discussion? Again, this resolution just does not create any or endorse any TIF district. This is just a feasibility study. So any final decision about TIF district will come back to council. So the public understands that. Okay, great. So those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. I hear none. The motion carries. Thank you so much. So next item on the agenda is Tiger Municipal Court updates, and I'll invite Judge Oberdorfer and Court Operations Supervisor Fenton to present this item. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. I am Emily Oberdorfer. My pronouns are she and her. I serve as the municipal court judge. I am here with Holly Fenton, who is our court supervisor. I submitted my report, so I'm just going to hit a couple of things that I mentioned there. We are handling a lot, mostly traffic violations. As Chief McDonald mentioned, we have a new vendor sending out those tickets. The police department has a new vendor that's sending out the tickets, so we are much busier than we were last time, about 6 months ago that I reported to you. So we're working very hard to get through all of our new cases. Holly will talk a little bit more about the vendor switch later. Last time I was here, there was a question about whether or we hear code violations, and I said that we never did, and then we did. So that was a really wonderful experience. I made a joke that it was a jinx that it got brought up at the meeting, but it was really wonderful. I had an opportunity to really dig into the city code. I learned so much. I learned about fat oils and grease and drive alleys and like all kinds of things that don't usually cross my path. It was all very interesting. It was a lot of hard work for the court staff, and given the amount of evidence and the full 8 hours we spent on it, it was a lot of work for other city staff as well. The main reason I bring that up is because I didn't know about any of it, and I just want to highlight what an excellent job the staff did, really keeping me siloed and making sure that there was no ex parte contact. I didn't know what was going on or who was involved or what was going to come out. And at the beginning, we had a couple of hearings before the big hearing to kind of set the stage and give parameters and what was going to happen. The respondent mentioned that a lawyer told him he couldn't get a fair trial in a municipal court. And at the end of the hearing, he said, it didn't go my way, but it was fair and you heard me. And I really think that's because it was clear that the folks that were coming to testify just hadn't talked to me about it. And that was really commendable, and I felt like it was fair, and that's great. So thanks to everybody that was involved in that preparation and hiding that preparation. And if you need somebody to throw a surprise party for you, I do recommend anybody that was involved in that, because I had no idea what was coming. Let's see, beyond the courtroom, the court staff is involved in all kinds of different groups. We do the Oregon Judges Association, the Oregon State Bar, the Oregon Association for Court Administration. We have folks show up at all kinds of community events. Holly is famous for being at the fun runs, yoga at Universal Park. We have court volunteers at El Tigre and Pride. So that really helps keep us connected to the community. They see us out there, they know that we are around and not so scary, which I hope makes it easier for folks to come into the courtroom to state their business. We are still committed to equity and access to justice. We have 2 court clerks on the Equity Advisory Committee. I understand Council President Wolf and Mayor Hu have been invited to attend a meeting. I used to chair that committee, and I hope that you both get to attend and see the wonderful work that they're doing. One of the clerks that is involved with that helped plan the Northwest Public Employee Diversity Conference, which I think 6 court staff members went to. In any event, we're still doubling down on the equity and inclusion thing, despite some changes in the national landscape here in Tigard. We're still moving forward, trying to make sure that everybody feels like they can be heard here in our court. I was reelected to the board of the Oregon Judges Association and was appointed president of that group at our last meeting on Friday. I am continuing to volunteer to grade the supervised portfolio performance exams and the bar exam to help bring new lawyers in. And I am also part of the Legal Ethics Committee. I was appointed secretary of that group. And I also serve on the House of Delegates. Some things that we've done to try to make things easier for our community members is to rewrite our court rules that are now on the website. We've taken that kind of, those needed to be rewritten for a lot of the reasons that the charter needed to be rewritten a while ago. It was just using a lot of shalls and thous and things like that not regular English. So we kind of tried to simplify those rules to make those more clear for the community. We created some templates for our most common correspondence. So we still go in and personalize the letters or whatever it is that we're sending to the community members. It's just kind of laid out. So we make sure that we're getting the message across in the same way and making sure that that language is relatively the same for everybody that's getting it. So all of the clerks are giving the same information in the same tone. We're still working with the Vehicle Compliance Program in partnership with the police department. That helps us create fix-it tickets so we can get cases dismissed short of bringing people to trial and having the officer say, yep, you fixed it, I'm going to dismiss it. We are also doing quarterly coordination meetings with the police department to make sure that that program is going well, it's working as intended, the officers in the court are all on the same page and working with the same understanding. So far we've just had one meeting, but we've got another one scheduled coming up December. Do you want to do
can jump in
stats?
on my part.
Okay.
Sure. Hi, Holly Fenton, she, her pronouns. I am the court operations supervisor. Thank you for having me tonight. Our court caseload continues to be largely driven by the police department's photo enforcement program, as we've mentioned tonight. That program was paused from March through August of 2025 while the program was transitioned to a new vendor. During that time, I coordinated closely with other departments and agencies to support the switch to the new photo enforcement contractor. The transition required many hours of work across teams, and I'm pleased to report the program is now running smoothly. Since going live again, we've seen a sharp rebound in citations. From August through October of this year, 3,495 photo enforcement speed citations were filed with the court. And during that same time period last year, the total was 2,318. We also saw an increase in photo red light cases. For the period covering August through October, we have received 1,578 citations. For that same time frame last year, that number was 1,304. The overall increase in photo enforcement filings during the previously mentioned 3-month period over last year is about 40%. So we're busy in court. Citations from in-person traffic stops have also increased. In fiscal year 2024, officers filed 2,273 cases with the court. In fiscal year 2025, that number rose to 2,695. Our team has been working efficiently to manage the increased workload across all citation types. In addition to caseload increases, the court continues moving forward, becoming fully paper on demand. We're working closely with IT and the Department of Motor Vehicles to finalize the process for sending our convictions to DMV electronically, a shift that could eliminate thousands of pieces of paper each year. At this point, the only remaining paper process is for citations physically handed to defendants by officers. That concludes my portion of the update. I'll pass it back to the judge for the
Thanks.
rest.
When Holly says, her so much. When Holly says a lot of hours, it was truly hundreds and hundreds of hours that Holly spent. I can't imagine what the department and the city attorney went through for that vendor switch, but it was really a huge, huge lift, and it does seem to be stabilizing. Although I think that they might be more responsive to Chief McDonald's than they are to court, so they're going to. I forgot to mention before that I put in the report that we have the cues that we can pull up and kind of get a look at what we have in front of us. And I know just to kind of demonstrate how the numbers change so much, at 2:02 this afternoon, there were 19 letters waiting for me to read them. There were 30 letters that were processed and waiting for clerks to get back to the defendants. We have 356 folks in traffic ticket diversion and 178 people waiting for their trial to be set. So the numbers go up and down, but they are definitely going up. I also wanted to, I noted on the chief's slides, there was a bunch of red dots, and I do want to mention once or twice the court has had to contact the police department for one unruly reason or another, and they have been very responsive and really wonderful at de-escalating all of the situations that I was not able to de-escalate or that court staff was not able to de-escalate. So it's really been drama-free, and we feel safe. We also feel pretty stable and supported by leadership. I know there's a lot of things going on in the city of Tigard, a lot of changes, but we're feeling stable and on 2 feet, and appreciate the support of the people around us. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comment, Councilor Shaw?
Maybe more of a comment. So you'd mentioned from August to October 2025 was 3,495. Previously had been 2,318, so it's almost double. And I feel for folks because we have 22,000 people driving in to our community, and we have about the same amount driving out. And so I'm wondering, and the goal is not to make money, it's really to protect lives and make sure that no one's harmed. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for signage, and I'm looking over at the chief and just floating an idea. But it just seems to me if we're doubling, something's going on. And maybe it was just because there was that period where we didn't have the photo enforcement. But just, I appreciate we have the program in place, and I appreciate it's a reminder to people, but I'd hate for it to be punitive, because if you don't have an iPhone or an Android, it warns you, but if you don't have that technology, then you're not warned. So it seems to me there's a little bit of a have and have-nots too. So part commentary, not really a question, but maybe.
But I'm going to answer it anyway. So the law requires that there is signage. When I come in and out of town, anytime I come down 99, I look at the signs to make sure that they are still there. So there is some warning without having Waze or whatever your map app is. We also have the diversion program. So for folks that are not that don't have a commercial driver's license, they don't have any convictions for moving violations or crimes on their record in the last 3 years, haven't done a class for dismissal in the last 3 years, don't have any traffic-related cases pending, and have valid driving privileges, they get to do traffic school to keep it off their record. So that's, I think that is really beneficial. We very rarely see people go through the diversion program and then come back. I will also say that we see the same police officers come in regularly. The same officers are going, signing the tickets. And they do really talk to people about their individual circumstances when they get to trial. So when I was coming up and learning to drive, we got pulled over by a police officer who had a stern conversation with us on the side of the road and sometimes gave us a warning. And I know we have a lot of folks that come in and say, had I been stopped by a police officer, I never would have gotten a ticket. So we do, when we schedule them for trial, we do give them the opportunity to have that conversation with the police officer. And sometimes the police officer recommends that they do diversion, even though they're not strictly eligible, and then we go along with it and let them do that. I haven't seen any of the financial numbers since Ms. Fenton took over, but last time I was aware, we were certainly not making any money. And by we, I mean the city of Tigard was not making any money off of the photo.
I'd like to add to that too, if I can. Those numbers, the reason I went August to October is because of that period of time that we didn't have tickets. It's a new vendor. So I think that has to do with some of the increase. I know with the old vendor, those numbers kept going down and down, and we weren't necessarily sure why. So I think part of the increase is the new vendor being more responsive. Just a feeling, I don't know for sure.
Council President Wolf, we'll have 1 minute.
If I could, so just thank you. I appreciate the court's fairness and highlighting that, and I wanted the public to know that there has been a focus on that. So thank you very much, and maybe we can make the sign slightly bigger. Thank you.
I think the sign's slightly bigger and the trees slightly more trimmed. I saw a letter today that said they went back and saw the sign, but there was a tree. So now that the leaves are down, perhaps the sign is more visible. Thank you.
Council President Wolf, 1 minute.
Well, I do have to say, maybe like a huge reduced speed ahead. Not that that has personally impacted me, but no, I mean, in all seriousness, I was curious, and I'll make this succinct. For those cases that come into your courtroom, Judge, are the questions more of a financial concern or seeking the diversion program? Because especially with the cameras, right? I mean, it's pretty much right there. You either did it or you didn't. And so I was just curious, what kinds of cases come in to ask, for those conversations when it seems fairly black and white from the photo detection, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think that a significant number of defendants don't watch the videos. They're 12-second videos, but you have to be a little bit internet savvy, and you have to read the fine print and put in you got to do all of the stuff and watch the 12-second video. They are very compelling with red light tickets, almost always. It's pretty cut and dry on the red lights. On speed, as I'm sure everyone in the room is aware, sometimes everybody is going 49 or 54 down 99. So when you see people,
not me.
They get that. Not you, not you, not me.
That's why I don't get tickets.
Right. So people are going with the flow of traffic. I think there's a large number of people that just want to see the human being that wrote the ticket. That they kind of want that contact. We had trials all day today. Most of them were for in-person stops for cell phones. But a lot of times, we have people that are 3 months shy of being eligible for the diversion program. And then we say, why don't I set it for trial? And you can talk to Officer Fink about it. And, see what's going on there. Or if they come in and say, I didn't do it. I say, okay, I can't hear any facts today. Let me set this for trial so we can get Officer Sarek in here to talk to us about it. She'll have to explain it to me too. I want to know what happened. So I think it's few and far between that are really adversarial, except for cell phone tickets and parking tickets. People are adversarial on those. But yeah. And then with regard to fine amount, $25 a month payment plan. Anybody can get that just by calling. There are no requirements to be allowed to go on a payment plan. If you want to go under $25 a month, we ask that you send me an email or come see me at Open Court. And that is, I've never said no to that. It's really for me to evaluate whether or not it's a situation where I need to discharge the fine completely because a person is they're never going to be able to pay it, and we don't want their $2 a month if that's going to keep them from eating. So we don't have a lot of people that are coming in just for payment plans.
All right, so thank you so much, Judge and Holly, for your detailed report and for the court's continued commitment to fairness and efficiency and community engagement. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on agenda is Capital Improvement Plan CIP update, and we have City Engineer Wisnowski to present this item. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here tonight to talk about all things capital improvement plan for the current fiscal year 26. In your mailbag, you should have had a packet of project manager worksheets that goes into more detail about each project. If you have questions, I brought them with me as well. We can dive into them. But as we go through the PowerPoint, next slide, please. We'll be talking about each of the 6 systems that we have in the capital improvement plan. And Mayor, if it's okay with you, I'll pause after each system just to see if there's questions on that one. Yeah. Thank you. So the primary systems are our drinking water, our water system, sanitary sewer, stormwater, the transportation network, parks, and then finally facilities. Next slide. So our first project in water is the 560 East Pressure Zone consolidation. This was formerly called the Bull Mountain Waterline Project. It's a quite large project that will be kicking off this winter. We're just starting to draft the RFP, and it's going to be a multi-year effort. It's also been expanded to include some site planning effort and minor improvements at our Canterbury or Site 1 location. So after this winter, you'll start hearing a lot more about that project. The Red Rock Creek Waterline Relocation Project, this has been a multi-phase project that started probably close to a decade ago, and we're happy to say that this summer we're going to go into construction for the final phase. It's a small fire line replacement project just across the road here from City Hall. Aquifer Storage and Recovery Well number 2 and number 3, construction is complete. We're just doing some final project closeout on that project. It does show up as yellow on schedule. We had a few issues with the final testing that delayed the project a little bit, but overall everything is in good standing now, and we're wrapping up that one. The pipeline renewal and replacement program, we also show this one as yellow. The original approach to this project was each year replacing a mile of water line, but we're trying to take a little bit more of a new technology approach to it and doing a lot more leak detection and analysis on our system. So we're not meeting the 1 mile a year currently. However, we did use this program just before the school year started. We had a water line in front of Mary Woodard School experience 3 water main breaks in a very short period of time. So we were able to deem an emergency project out there and replace that water line before school opened. We wrapped it up just a few days before all the students came back to school. So it was nice having that program in the CIP to be able to deliver that work. Next project or slide. The generator replacement at pump station number 1, that is 90% complete. We did have a little delay on the schedule with that while we coordinated some other scoping effort and land use at that location, but we expect to be in construction this summer. Then we have the water system plan addendums for the Kingston Terrace urban growth expansion area for King City, and then also the River Terrace 2.0 planning effort. You're going to hear a little bit about the parks for River Terrace 2.0 this afternoon or this evening as well. The addendum for Kingston Terrace is wrapped up and ready to come to council here very soon for adoption, and then the River Terrace addendum Should be ready shortly after that one in the next couple months. Reservoir 8-1 and Reservoir 4 improvements. This project has not started yet, but we're getting close to selecting our consultants and kicking off that work. It's just general major maintenance type work at the two reservoir sites. And then the water meter modernization project, we show this one as yellow on schedule. When we originally brought this into the CIP, we were very aggressive on what our proposed schedule was going to be to replace every water main or water meter in the city. We do have a pilot project running right now to help us evaluate the technology that we wish to use. And then some solid feedback we received from operations is that you don't want to be too aggressive on replacing every meter at the same time. Should you have any issues with a batch of meters, you don't want the entire city to have an issue at the same time, or solid asset management practice of when we have to replace the meters in 20 years, you don't want to have to replace all of them in the same year. So we're going to a more phased approach on that project. Next slide, please. The water treatment plant and river intake pump station generator project. This is a project that was a result of the ice storm. I forget the year now, maybe 3-4 years ago. The treatment plant was out of power for a period of time. The two cities came together. We determined that we need to have a plan for generating electricity should that happen again. So Lake Oswego is delivering this. It was 95% complete at the end of last fiscal year, and we're just waiting for final billing at this point. The lead and copper rule revisions compliance. There's been some revisions to the lead and copper rule, and we're just waiting for the state OHA to make their interpretations of that to see what we need to do next. With the original phase of this, we found through all of our data analysis that we're not likely to have any lead public services in our system. So we're in good standing there. We're just waiting to see what's going to come out from the latest revisions at the federal level that's trickling down to us. The next water system plan update is scheduled to start for the water system the end of this fiscal year, and primarily will take place in next fiscal year, but we'll get the RFP and consultant selection process started in Q4. And then the Lake Oswego Tiger Water Supply Expansion Project. This is another large water project that's going to be multi-year. We plan to kick off design in January, and there's likely to be multiple construction packages with this work. Just due to the nature of the project, there's some pump station improvements and also an additional pump at the water treatment plant that's required to facilitate expanding our supply into the city. And then also a large pipeline from Waluga Reservoir in Lake Oswego towards our Bonita pump station. So we've started some coordination with Lake Oswego and Clackamas County. Primarily, most of the work is over there, and the RFP will be coming out after the first of the year. Next slide is a project highlight. So this is the emergency repairs that we completed at Woodard Elementary. The water main break resulted in significant pavement damage. So what we were able to do with the short time that we had before school started was to replace the water line and then just do temporary pavement repairs. And then next summer, we're going to come through with our pavement management program and repave this section of Catherine Street. So with that, I'd like to pause to see if there's any questions or comments on the water system.
Any question, comment, water system? Yes, Councilor?
Yeah. When you go through next summer, is that going to block off that entire road, or is it going to be just the half like it was when it was being repaired?
So typically when they do this type of work, they will at least stage it to where the entire pavement surface may be removed at one time, but they'll always maintain local access. We're likely to detour any traffic that's trying to go through the subdivision to keep them out of the work zone. But if somebody lives in or adjacent to the work zone, they will always have access to their property as we work on the restoration.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, move on to the sewer system.
Thanks. Next slide, please. So I always like to put the little plug in here that the sanitary sewer CIP is a fairly small portion of the work we deliver, because the large-scale projects, any pump stations or large conveyance systems are owned and operated by Clean Water Services. So we only have 3 projects to talk about tonight on sanitary. Our major maintenance program is just one of those ongoing programs we have in almost all of our systems that allows us to react to maintenance needs that come up throughout the year. They typically be projects that are under $50,000 and don't quite get to the level of needing to be its own CIP project. The sanitary sewer system plan update is about 20% complete, and we expect to come to council in June for adoption of this system plan. A couple things we're focused on in this plan is our FOG program. So I was really happy to hear earlier somebody mentioned FOG. And then also looking at unserved areas of the city with sewer. There's not a lot, but there are areas that are still on septic. So we want to incorporate what it would take to serve the rest of the city. And then our final project to comment on is our Cured in Place pipe project. This project also works on storm sewer as well. But we were getting to a point where we had a significant amount of our storm and sanitary sewer system that was experiencing infiltration of groundwater through various reasons, bad joints, cracked pipe, root intrusion. And what this project allows us to do is, without having to dig, it's trenchless technology, we're able to go in and line pipe and rehabilitate it to prevent the infiltration of groundwater, which saves us money in the long run because we're not treating groundwater then at the treatment plant. So if we go to the next slide, there's a couple pictures that show a before and after of what this work is. The nice thing is, instead of having to dig up a section of pipe and take a few weeks to a month to replace that, we're able to come in typically in one day, sometimes even at night, and clean, replace it with the liner, and televise it and be out in one day. Very minimal disruption to the community other than the noise of the operation for the one night. Any questions on sanitary sewer?
Nope. Stormwater, let's go.
Okay, so stormwater system, next slide, please. This system also has a major maintenance program, same as sanitary, just opportunistic projects that come up through our maintenance crew. The Red Rock Creek Stabilization and Enhancement Project is under construction. If anyone's been in the Triangle, you've probably saw this activity taking place. We just recently completed a repair to the culvert under Dartmouth, and then also there was some road repair that we've been wanting to take care of for a while, so we took the advantage of this project being out there and replaced the concrete slab that has been settling over that culvert. So that work was just recently completed on Dartmouth, but it will go through November of 2026. So one more summer season to wrap up that project. And that one does show up as yellow. We had some delay early before construction started due to obtaining some state and federal permits, but everything is in good standing at this point. The stormwater system plan right now has not started. It is scheduled to take place this year. We show it as green. However, we're tracking this one as potentially being a little bit delayed. Our assistant city engineer was going to deliver this work, and he is retiring very soon. So we may have a small delay as we go through a recruitment process. But I am happy to say, until that retirement, engineering is full staff, and it's been a long time coming to be full staff. So there's a lot more green on these slides now than we have had in previous years. Next slide, please. On 121st Avenue Bridge and Summer Creek Bank stabilization, there's been some erosion occurring at this location. So we're about 90% complete on design, preparing a land use application and permitting for work to take place next summer. On permitting our repairs at that location, and ODOT has now agreed to wrap that work into one of their ADA ramp projects, which is great. It should actually come to us as a cost savings. The only issue is we're now on their schedule of their ramp program, and we don't have a set schedule to share yet on when the work's going to take place, but at least We have their commitment to deliver the work, and will only impact traffic one time now instead of two projects taking place out there. Next slide is the project highlight for this, and it's the Red Rock Creek Stabilization Project. The first picture there is we did a similar CIPP cured in place pipeliner under Dartmouth. And then the next two photos are setting the large precast box culvert that will be where 74th Avenue comes into the former Regal Cinema site. Pretty impressive sized culvert there being set, and it was exciting to see that go in. Any questions on stormwater?
No? Oh, wow, I just want to say I went on a field trip with a couple people from Tualatin Riverkeepers a couple weekends ago, and they said, let me know that our city staff has been doing a great job with our stormwater project. So just want to convey that. So great job.
Appreciate the feedback. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. So
Next slide, please. So this is probably our largest system. Well, I know it is. It's our transportation system. It includes all things streets, trails, and combination of that. So the first one is the pavement management program, and this is where we do our major paving programs, our slurry seal, crack seal. A lot of those programs are out for bid right now, getting ready for next year's program. You'll start seeing contracts come to the LCRB soon. We have also, through that program, are working on the street maintenance fee update. A few weeks back, we held a open house with the business community, invited them into the library, kicked off conversation with them, and we plan to come back to council in February for more discussion on street maintenance fees. So stay tuned for more conversation there. The Hull Boulevard and Faffel traffic signal project, we've been anticipating delivering this project as soon as the 217 construction and Hull overpass was completed. So we are kicking off design now this month and working through final approvals with the ODOT statewide transportation or traffic engineer for the approval of that signal. After a few rounds of review, it sounds like we're about ready to get our approval for the signal itself and move towards developing construction plans here, starting here in November. The North Dakota Street Bridge Replacement Project, I think we've talked about this one for quite some time. This one shows up as red due to all the history of schedule delay, budget delays. However, this year we did receive the additional RFFA funding of $8 million. We feel very confident we have a solid funding plan and schedule to move forward. The new funds that did come into it have a federal availability year of about 3 years out. So we're progressing with design and still working on the project, but it's likely to be a few years yet until we see construction. But with that, the next project is Tigard Street. We have now went back to Tigard Street being the first bridge that we deliver instead of second. We're at 90% design. Our goal is to still push for construction next summer. We're about ready to submit all of our permit applications and land use for that. We're likely to see a small work package be next summer with major work in 2027. And it needs to be phased like that because we have some utility relocation work that needs to occur before we can get into the bridge construction. The final one on this slide is the ADA right-of-way program. This is where we proactively work around the city, replacing or upgrading our ADA curb ramps. It does show up as red on here. It's been a couple of years here now of getting back on schedule of 1 year where we had to cancel a contract with a contractor. I believe the package that's out for bid right now will get us back on schedule and caught up. Next slide, please. The Traffic and Transportation Major Maintenance Program, this is one where we do a lot of the RRFB, flashing pedestrian crossing signs, speed feedback signs, smaller improvements that are really impactful to the user, but low dollar amount programs. We also work on maintenance of our traffic signals through this program. The intersection of Bonita and Sequoia will be receiving a new traffic signal. It's currently stop controlled on one leg, and It is a MISTIP-funded project, so the county is delivering this work, but we do have a project manager assigned to it in close coordination with them. We are expecting construction next summer. The Murdoch Street sidewalk and stormwater improvements, we show this one yellow. Early in the design phase, we identified a budget shortfall, and we applied for Safe Routes to School funding. And that is how we were able to make the project, we received the grant, so it made the project whole for funding. We just carried the yellow color through because of that shortfall we had initially. But that also, the final project on the slide here is the Templeton Tualatin Safe Routes to School project, which was the same grant we applied for. We married the two projects together and delivered them as one. So the contractor is working on the punch list for both of these projects and should be wrapped up fairly soon. And then I skipped it, but the final project on this one is McDonald Street. We recently just had a large community engagement event over at the library for this. You'll see some photos from that night in my highlight slide here, and we're approaching about 30% design on that project. So it's moving along quite well. Next slide. The Greenberg Road Hall to 217 Complete Street project. This was a large project that received MISTIP funding in the last round of project applications. We show the project budget as yellow because the amount we requested, the amount we received was less than what we requested. However, we've been working with the county, and they are very confident that the dollar amount that we do have on the project meets the scope of work, and we're tracking it closely, but there's confidence in the project that we're going to be able to deliver it. The next project is the streetlight replacement program. This project was actually bid today, and happy to say it came in significantly under budget from what is shown in the CIP. So our transportation program in general is always strapped for cash. So this one, from what is budgeted, we do have about $1 million savings on the project. The first time ever doing this project, at the time putting it together, cost of doing this type of work and materials for streetlights were extremely high. So we went into it very conservative, and the engineer's estimate at the time of putting the final bid package together was right in line with what the bids actually came in at, but the budget itself had a significant savings. The Safe Streets and Roads for All Action Plan, I believe council heard this one last week or just recently, so we appreciate your support in that. Thanks for the recent adoption of that plan. And then the Fannel Creek Regional Trail Crossing Safety Improvements. This was a grant, an OCP grant that we applied for, received the funding, and in turn handed the funding over to ODOT, and they're delivering the project because it's on their facility. It's to improve the crossing of Fannel Creek Trail at Hall Boulevard. And we expect that to go to construction hopefully next summer. Next slide. The 95th Avenue Highway 217 pedestrian and bike refinement study. This is a state-funded refinement study to work through the feasibility and what the approach would be to install a pedestrian bridge from our future Bagan Park location, kind of Shady Lane, over 217 to Washington Square Mall area. We are currently working through the consultant selection process with ODOT. There's been some delays just working through all the administrative stuff with ODOT, but it's picking up steam now and going to get back on schedule pretty quick. And then finally, the wayfinding signage installation plan and construction. Engineering's been working with community development on coming up with the design for wayfinding signs throughout the downtown area and the city, and we're getting ready to develop an implementation plan to move into constructing and installing signs. So next slide is a highlight. I know I always show kind of construction photos, but I thought it would be a good idea to kind of show a few photos from the McDonald Street open house. And what we did on the right-hand side, this is before the event started, we took a photo of, there's 4 different alternative cross-sections for McDonald Street that we're evaluating right now, and we printed them off on true to size or true to scale on the floor. And then as community members came in, we could physically walk across them and talk about how it would feel or how big the improvements really would be. And then the other photos are just showing staff engaging with the community members. And it was a couple-hour event, very good turnout. And it's the first of many touch points with the community here on this project. I said earlier, we're approaching about 30% design. It's a multi-year effort. It's going to be a significant project to deliver, but we have a great consultant team and city staff working on it. And I think we're starting off on a good foot with the community to open up those conversations. So any questions on transportation?
Mr. Shaw.
I'll be quick, Mayor. One comment. The McDonald Street open house community engagement was fantastic, and the community that attended were so pleased. I know a number of counselors were there too, just to see that diagram in place. So thank you very much to you and staff, because it was fantastic. And then you had mentioned the punch list on Murdoch Street. Does that include pavement?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some pavement repairs. There's also, I would assume next spring we'll be out there. There's multiple seasons of watering and cultivating for plantings. So when we're done this fall, we're not completely done.
I heard for the Safe Route to School project, I heard a couple of concerns from school, either school or parents about construction, like coordination. They were surprised about not being able to cross. So are there any lesson learned regarding construction around schools that going forward you can something you would change about that?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's as much a lesson learned. I think it's more of we're very aggressive on the schedule,
right,
and trying to get all that work done in one season. We did allow the contractors to start before school got out last fall, in hopes that we would be out of there before this season school started, and we didn't make it. So it's probably just more of right-sizing the work and maybe considering 2 construction seasons to stay away from impacting school. But you also try to balance that out of anytime you go into another season,
right,
you have a whole winter period that you're extending a lot of contracts through, and it ends up being costly to do that as well. So yeah, it was just trying to right-size that workload that you can reasonably get done in the same construction season or summer season.
Thank you. All right, going on to parks.
Yeah. Great, the first one is our Dirksen Nature Park. We do have a small nature play proposed in the area near the new parking lot that was developed or completed a couple years ago. It is scheduled to start this year for design. However, we're in conversations with Clean Water Services right now. They have a proposal to use some of that space for a future sanitary sewer pump station, and it may impact this area. So we want to make sure that we're not delivering a project that they're going to come through and disrupt shortly after. There may be some delay because of this coordination, but it's a very significant project that would impact that area. Another major maintenance program similar to the other ones in good standing. Our Steve Street Park and Trail is approaching 90% design, and we expect construction next summer. The trail system plan, we've phased this project. We have 2 phases to it. We're happy to say phase 1 is completed, and we're eager to get back to council here soon with this one for discussion about the phase 1 was focused on the current trail system and all the operational and maintenance needs of our current system. We want to come to council, have a conversation about that, and then we'll move into phase 2 that gets into more of the long-range planning and that a normal system plan would address. Moving into Began Park, this is another one that's being coordinated with Clean Water Services. They have another large sewer project taking place in the near future called the Metzger Sewer Trunk Line project, and they will be running sanitary sewer directly through the future Began Park location. So our staff has been in close coordination with them on how much of the park project can we deliver that won't impact their work, and then talk about final phase that would be delivered after the sewer project is complete. The Cook Family Accessible Boat Ramp, I do have some photos at the end for this project. The new dock has been installed and we've received grants awarded for phase 2. So we'll be moving into the phase 2 launch project for that one. Next slide. The Copper Creek Cook Family Park Stream Stabilization Project. This is located as you leave on the trail west of the park. As you travel down that way, you'll notice our maintenance crews over the years have had to armor some of the outfall in that area. There's some storm sewer exposed. It's been holding up pretty well for a maintenance fix, but the erosion is continuing to occur. So we have a project to take care of all that permanently, and we're at 90% complete with construction plan for next summer. Then we have another Fannel Creek Trail project. This is from Bonita Road to Durham Road, and we are currently in the kickoff phase with ODOT, and it's we call it project development, but we're trying to take the project to about 30% design to make us more competitive for future grant funding. This is one of the final segments of Fannel Creek Trail to complete. It's probably the most difficult, most costly segment, so that's why we're trying to make sure we have a very reasonable approach to going into grant funding and minimize our risk of having a grant awarded and come across a lot of unknowns during construction. This project will complete geotechnical work, environmental analysis, so that we have a really good understanding of what we're getting into before we go into final design. And then the Ash Creek Trail project, we're in a planning phase. There's a very good opportunity here that we may be able to partner with Clean Water Services on that Metzger sewer project that we mentioned to obtain a partnership with them to use their project as the match for a large grant with Metro to purchase this property and develop a trail on the, I'm going to get my side wrong, but on the Washington Square side of 217, kind of behind like all the Oak Street apartments. There's a large natural area back there that we are proposing a trail. Next slide. Finally, here's the Cook Family Park boat ramp. A little bit of before and after photos of our new dock. Any questions?
Questions on parks?
Question, but just kudos to everyone who had a hand in putting in the Cook Family Park boat ramp, and really excited that the ADA ramp is following shortly, but fantastic work.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, facilities.
Yep, this is our final, next slide, please. This is our final system. The library HVAC system is currently under construction. They're doing some site prep work right now, working behind the library for where the new chiller will be located. And then the next project is the library roof replacement. They're getting very close to being completed, but with our nice Oregon weather here, they need a few more dry days to get the final layer of roofing down. So as soon as they get that break in the weather, we'll be wrapping up the roof. And then the HVAC project will be able to get up there and start doing all the rooftop units over the next couple months. And then the final project in the facility system is the city facilities modernization project. You heard last night we had the open house. It was well attended by the community. Council will be receiving an update on this project on December 16th with opportunity to refer it to the ballot in February. Next slide. And there's just a few photos of the roof project taking place. And it's a very nice view from up there too. Any questions on facilities or anything else?
Councilor Schlack.
CIP?
Thank you. Will there be a CIP project created for the facility systems plan that will be made?
Thank you. It is in the CIP. It should have been on the slide. So yes, that is currently funded for this fiscal year. We did start some engagement effort on that at the Police Department Public Works Open House, and we'll be kicking off the planning effort here shortly.
Sounds good. I was just noting all the systems plans, and I was like, we're going to have some reading to do over the next couple of years, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great that I see mostly green and in yellow, but there are a couple delays. So other than costs, what are other factors, common factors for delay, you think?
Yeah, so generally, a few years back, we had some significant capacity issues with project managers delivering projects. So we had some vacancies to navigate. We're beyond that now. We have a full
great.
team, so we're really good there. But then there's other things that come up that typically are unknown, sometimes permitting delays when you have to deal with state and federal agencies. Though that's a common one. Sometimes it's material suppliers or, you assume that it's going to be a 6-month procurement timeline on streetlights and ends up being 9 or 12 months.
Right.
And then weather can impact the weirdest things. So there's been all sorts of delays on, chlorine shortages in the past, PVC pipe shortages that you don't expect because a plant went out of power for a long period of time. It's a long list of weird things that pop up that result in a delay to a project. But I would say permitting is a big factor that we have to keep our time or our eyes on. And then just making sure the capital improvement plan is right sized to match it with resources to deliver it and funding of those projects.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear because I was wondering if staffing was an issue, but I'm glad to hear we move beyond that. So that's great. Any last question or comments? Well, thank you so much, Joe, for the detailed report, and I really appreciate staff working behind the scene to keep all the important project moving forward. So I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our last agenda item for the evening is River Terrace 2.0 Parks updates, and we have Senior Planner Gata and Parks Infrastructure Manager Gruen for the presentation. Welcome.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brittany Gata. I'm a senior planner in the Community Development Department and the project manager for the River Terrace 2.0 project. And I'm joined by Rick Gruen, the Public Works Park Recreation and Green Infrastructure Manager. And we're here together tonight to provide an update on the River Terrace 2.0 Park System Plan. We're requesting general feedback from City Council on that draft plan. And we're also requesting guidance on how we can best plan for parks in River Terrace 2.0 while also supporting Public Works' future operations and maintenance of this area. Next slide, please. The River Terrace 2.0 Park System Plan refines and operationalizes the vision that was established during the concept plan process. And that vision was to have a high-quality network of parks and trails within a 10-minute walk of residences. The Park System Plan plans for a variety of things in order to operationalize that vision, the first of which is the Parks Level of Service, or LOS, which is a standard that's used to plan for the amount of parks acreage that's needed based on the anticipated population of an area. And this metric is typically used citywide, but we are using it as one factor to guide our planning process for River Terrace 2.0. Other things that we're planning for in this plan are the different park facility types, their general locations and sizes, different design considerations and amenities that the community is interested in seeing here, the cost estimates, of course, since this all requires resources, and the implementation. How do we actually make this vision a reality through development code and a funding strategy? Next slide, please. The draft park system plan map is showing the general park locations, sizes, and the different types of facilities. So there are 4 different types of facilities that we're envisioning for River Terrace 2.0. And I'll highlight that, again, these are general locations, but they have been intentionally selected and identified on this map to first and foremost ensure that there is a park within 10 minutes of every home, but also to balance different constraints like topography, land needed for other types of development like housing and commercial areas, also identifying certain opportunities for scenic views or educational opportunities in natural areas. also protecting existing large trees, and carrying out the community's desire to have access to nature. So the first type of facility is a neighborhood park. There are 8 of these envisioned for the neighborhood. These are distributed across the plan area to have a mix of them near natural areas, but also central to neighborhoods. These neighborhood parks are shown as the darker green not rectangles, squares, with dashed dark green circles around them, representing a radius, showing the general location where a park could be located within that radius to meet the 10-minute walk need. We're also showing up to 1 community park in this area. The community park is shown as the lighter green semi-transparent circle. There are 3 different options for where a community park could be appropriate. And the community park would be to accommodate the different types of amenities in this area that require more space, notably things like sports fields, which is a desire of the community across Tigard, not necessarily unique to River Terrace 2.0. 2 of the community park options are closer to commercial areas, near Shoals Ferry Road, kind of near that northern commercial area, and north of Bull Mountain Road, while a 3rd one is shown closer to nature. There are also 3 urban plazas. These are shown as the kind of orangish, smaller circles located in commercial areas. And these are planned to be privately owned facilities, but they would be publicly accessible, and they would provide a gathering place, just a space to hang out in these commercial centers. And they would also allow space for different programming opportunities and potentially events. Lastly, 4 to 6 miles of trails are also planned. These are shown as the orange lines across the map. They're typically along the edges of natural areas, and they're highlighting the opportunity to connect trails and street-side facilities to form a robust transportation network that blends options and recreation for folks to have options to get around. Next slide, please. The park's level of service, again, is just one factor we're using to inform our parks planning. Parks LOS is a standard that is, again, used to plan for adequate park land based on expected population. And during the concept plan phase, the park's LOS was developed using the same method as River Terrace 1.0. And the community plan was always tasked with refining that and balancing the different needs of this plan for housing, balancing natural resources requirements for Metro, and our goals for commercial development. So the refinements that we're presenting this evening have a few major changes that I wanted to highlight. The first is that this parks LOS actually calls for fewer parks, but they are higher quality parks and they are larger compared to what we saw develop in River Terrace 1.0. This was based on community feedback that the public would like to see larger parks that have more usable open space with a variety of amenities for all ages, rather than smaller parks that might only cater to the needs of some individuals, even though it does mean fewer parks overall. This proposal also adds more trails, I think over doubling the trail network that was originally foreseen during the concept plan process, to deliver on the community's priority to have more access to nature and more recreation options to get around. One of the most significant changes was that the concept plan LOS included all natural areas in its calculations. This meant that even natural areas that were going to be inaccessible and not publicly owned were included in that calculation for parks level of service. So this updated proposal only includes those natural areas that are appropriate and intended for public access. They might have a unique educational or ecological opportunity that warrants that public access. So that represents a large decrease in this LOS calculation, but it more accurately shows the land that would actually serve a park purpose in those natural areas. And lastly, by inherently providing fewer but higher quality parks, we're also setting aside more land for housing and commercial development in this area. Next slide, please. This slide is showing a comparison of the park's level of service approaches, comparing the concept plan approach and our proposed update. I just wanted to walk through these one by one. So during the concept plan, you can see that community parks was based on a 3 acre per 1,000 residents estimate, while that's significantly reduced down to 1 acre per 1,000 residents with this update. And that's because based on our expected population in this area, that would have required 3 community parks, which is quite substantial. It would have significantly reduced the land needed for other types of development. And we did a study of the other types of facilities available today in the surrounding area and also those that are planned in the kind of greater surrounding area. And we felt that that was excessive for this region in River Terrace 2.0. So since community parks typically require like buildable land, flat, otherwise developable land, that was a trade-off that we felt needed to reduce the overall community park acreage. But we are still providing the option for planning for one larger 10 to 12 acre community park in this proposal. Next, the neighborhood park standard was actually increased, again, recognizing the community's desire to have larger acreage parks, while linear parks were eliminated, again, based on community feedback that this type of long, narrow park was not a desirable experience, and people wanted more kind of uniformly based green space where they can throw a football or put down a picnic blanket. And lastly, the change in the open space standard that I mentioned did reduce that metric. However, again, by only including the portion of natural areas that will be publicly accessible, we are decreasing the total by 20 acres, but again, more accurately reflecting what the community will have access to. Next slide, please. So as we're embarking on the first draft of the park system plan and starting our development code strategy for implementation of the plan, there's a couple key things that we're keeping in mind. The first, again, is that we're showing up to 1 community park. This means that we have not yet determined if a community park is appropriate for River Terrace 2.0, considering the goals that we have for this area and other nearby park facilities. So there is a desire in general for larger scale park facilities in Tigard, notably with sports fields. There are funding implications that come along with that. Notably, community parks are larger and they draw people from outside of the neighborhood. They typically have parking included with them. And if there are sports fields, Public Works knows well that there would be an expectation for quite significant parking as well. So that not only comes with extra cost for the land that you need, but also the maintenance and operations that would go into maintaining parking facilities, sports fields, and those larger scale amenities and the programming and administrative needs that come along with that. We're also working to implement this plan in the development code so that it's consistent with this plan's recommendations in terms of park locations and the parameters that dictate those locations, the sizes of parks, their designs and amenities, and also an incentive structure to encourage developers to dedicate land for parks to the public. And lastly, community development is working closely with Public Works to understand how River Terrace 2.0 fits into the citywide Parks and Recreation System Plan, and also what the operations and maintenance needs are for this area. We recognize that this plan has to account for adequate funding of its own facilities in order to prevent impacts on the operations and maintenance of parks in the rest of the city. So now I'll pass it off to Rick to talk about citywide considerations.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's great to be here. So tying it back to the Parks and Rec System Plan, which was adopted in 2022. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to kind of bring you back to the vision was an equitable community that is walkable, healthy, and accessible for everyone. And as Brittany mentioned, to continue with the goal to provide high-quality parks within a 10-minute walk. The figure to the right kind of shows back to the strategies from the system plan back in 22, the starred areas are the connections here. Number 5 is to acquire and develop new parks. So again, this is very aspirational. Connections to the trails network, as you know, in River Terrace 1.0 and continuing with 2.0 is River Terrace Boulevard serving as the West Side Trail connection through the system. And then to complete planned parks and park phases, which, this definitely is part of that. Next slide, please. So with the implementation of the system plan, whereas planning uses LOS, level of service, to identify how many acres of parks in Public Works and with our asset management program, we also use level of service to look at what the demand on the system is. So similar acronym, but the asset management approach with level of service makes sure that the cradle to grave sustainability of the asset can be maintained over the life cycle. We also need to address the parks system development charge methodology and the Parks and Recreation fee. Both of the system SDCs, the methodology was last updated in 2015. It's critically due to be updated, as well as since the Parks and Recreation fee was enacted, it has never gone through a methodology update. And you've heard with the trail system plan discussion and with parks, they're linked together. And in working with Brittany, and I'm really grateful that we've had the opportunity to work across departments to help bring a proposal together. While River Terrace 2.0 and the consultants are looking at strategies for funding through a River Terrace 2.0 increment above the citywide SDC, and potentially even looking at how the PARF is calculated. Our recommendation is that knowing that the Parks SDC methodology and the PARF citywide is in desperate need of updates, our recommendation is that these two studies need to go concurrently. Otherwise, we're taking a River Terrace 2.0 methodology against an outdated system-wide or citywide methodology. So again, working across departments, bringing this together so that there is, sustainable, accurate funding that can be identified to bring this project forward. Next slide, please. So wanted to give you a little bit update, again, tying it back to level of service from an asset management approach. Our current park system, and when I say parks, it's parks, trails, natural areas, open spaces. Currently, we have 608 acres in our system. When we look at what the system demands, regardless of our budget, regardless of how we're funded, system-wide, the current demand is 22 FTE. We're currently budgeted for 20, and that is made up of 14 full-time park maintenance, our utility workers that do a phenomenal job keeping our parks clean, safe to use. And then we're budgeted for 12 seasonals, which is roughly equivalent to 6 FTE. And we're about right-sized right now. I started this because with the River Terrace 1.0 parks coming off of warranty, that was never accounted for in early River Terrace. We never had this great collaboration back then. So as these parks are coming off of warranty in River Terrace 1.0, the Blueberry Hill Park, which is currently under warranty, we just took over South River Terrace Park. Little Bear Park will be coming off of warranty next year. It kind of forecasted to be upside, by 2 FTE within the next year or two. So when we look at the impact of River Terrace 2.0 and the types of parks that are being proposed, we've kind of projected, forecasted that it's going to require an additional 6 to 8 FTE. And how we calculate this is it's based on the categories of parks. So we have community parks, neighborhood parks. Those are typically at level 1, highly developed, highly improved. Category 2's similar, they're developed and improved, but not necessarily to the level of a Category 1. Category 3 are our greenways. These are all the properties outside of a park that has trails. So much all of Fano Creek through the vegetative corridor is classified as a Category 3 greenway that does require the maintenance on trails or these soft surface trails that move through some of these forested areas adjacent to parks. And then Category 4, these are really our true natural areas, unmanaged, reactive management, if you will. So when we look at the categories, we have various coefficients to those. We look at the number of acres, the amenities themselves that are going into a park. For example, Universal Plaza category, we actually called it Category 1+ because of the water feature that's in there, puts a high labor demand on operation and maintenance. Then we also look at the services that are needed, whether it's daily service, weekly service, number of services in a day. Community parks, we put restrooms in, where typically in neighborhood parks we don't. Those require obviously a higher level of servicing. And then we look at density. As we're experiencing potentially in the Triangle area or in River Terrace, both 1.0 and 2.0, as the density increases, the number of users increases and frequency of services increases. And when we started this work years back, most of our parks were more neighborhood, suburban neighborhood parks with lower density and less users. So we look at it by acres per FTE, but when we say that, behind all that is the number of services, how frequency, those garbage collections, the maintenance in the restrooms and so forth. So when we put all that together, if somewhere in that 60 to 65 anticipated acres, including the trails, aspirationally, it's great to consider new parks. Reality, as we look at this, there is a true cost to growth of the city. If we weren't growing the city, an expansion of our trails and park system, we're about right-sized. And we hear so many great comments. You've heard so many great comments about how wonderful our parks look and how well maintained they are. So the ask isn't about new money or new funding to maintain existing parks. It's how do we expand and grow the system and be able to grow operationally to support those. So that's kind of what this slide is all about. I think next steps then, Brittany.
Next slide, please. Okay, so as the park system plan moves forward, community development and public works are going to continue to work together on this plan and also to collaborate on the equitable funding strategy, which is coming up. We're expecting to complete the park system plan this winter, and we are currently moving into work on the funding strategy and the development code approach for parks. Our next update to council is planned to be about transportation. We're also likely going to link this up with an update on the funding strategy, and we're thinking this would be late January or February, and we're still on track to do the community plan adoption process in late fall of 2026. So that concludes our presentation on the parks update. We really appreciate your input on this process and also our citywide considerations as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions or input? Go ahead, Council President Wolf.
So thank you both. First of all, it was a good presentation, and I really appreciate the comparison and the transparency around this is what we said we were going to do, and oh, hey, by the way, now it looks like we're going to cut that in half. So I have just a couple questions. So Brittany, my first one is, when I read the materials, I know this started in 21 with community input. Did you collect community engagement or have community engagement or input when the decision was made to make so many changes to the park options?
Yes. So throughout the community plan process, we've asked the broader public about their preferences for parks and what they would like to see in the area. So all of the changes that were made to the proposed parks level of service was informed by community engagement.
With them knowing that the amount of acres that were going to be cut from the original plan?
Thanks for that clarification. No, this presentation to council is the first public display of that proposed level of service and the reduced acreage. I will note that the only reduction in kind of raw usable parkland was the reduction to community parks, while the natural areas didn't really affect what was usable parkland.
Yeah.
Council President, can I respond to that briefly? So we're part of, belong to the National Recreation and Parks Association, and every couple of years they put out a survey or a performance that looks at over 1,000 agencies provide data. And we use that as kind of a benchmark of where does the city of Tigard stand relative to other municipalities our size? It's broken out by size of population. And the most recent 2025 survey was just released, and one of the metrics in there, and there's a variety of metrics, Councilor Gaduzzi, typically in January, we bring to the Parks and Rec Board kind of a update on where we stand, so we'll see that coming up. But one of the metrics is acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. And if we look at today, roughly about 55,000 community residents in the city with 608 acres in our park system. The median for, again, this is cities our size, and it's 50 to 99,000 is the category. The median is 11.05 acres per 1,000, or excuse me, it's, where am I at? 9.2 acres per 1,000 residents. The city of Tigard today, we're at 11.05 acres, so we're just above the median. If we factor in what Brittany showed with the little bit of that reduction of acres, but if we factor in the additional 60 acres, we're going to be at 10.3 acres of parkland per 1,000. So we're sitting, even with that reduction, as we look at this citywide, we're right in there. So I just wanted to bring this metric to you to say that while we don't necessarily look at it on a community scale, it's measured on a citywide scale. So we still fall in line with at least, what NRPA or across the nation reports. So we're under on a number of other metrics, but this one on acres per 1,000, we're right in there. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
The metrics are great, so actually, thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. And so I guess I'll just make a comment, and certainly want to leave time for other counselors. I'm still wrestling. I mean, it's this balance, right? These decisions will have, decades-long consequence or decisions. So I'm still struggling with what's the right number for housing, and then understanding that impacts. And I appreciate Mayor Hu this evening reinforcing that we still need housing in the metro area. So I'm not dismissing that, but I'm trying to find the balance of the right number of housing opportunities to our park space, to our fields. And so the only other comment that I want to make is, yes, I'm very interested in looking at the REX fee and SDCs to right size for what we want our community to be that matches our vision for Tigard. And it is so dense out there. And Cook Park is a bit of a stretch. I mean, you have Summer Lake, and I just feel like this is a tremendous opportunity and we get one shot. So I'm not quite there yet to go, yay, this has got it all right. So thank you.
it definitely is a trade-off, Council President, who between the perfect land for housing is also the perfect type of land for
And your
larger community
And the parking
parks.
issues are real, so that's fair.
Councilor Shaw.
Thank you, and thank you also for the presentation. And following along the lines with Council President Wolf, I'm very concerned. We spent a lot of time in the public community process getting their feedback, and now we're basically saying we're changing it all. We haven't talked to developers. I'm also very concerned. It's great that your two departments are now working together, but I'm envisioning this being short-sighted. We don't have a community park, there's no fields, and we have everybody driving across the mountain over to Durham to Cook Park. And so we've traded one problem for another. So it seems to me if we can look bigger picture and really integrate what it is we really truly want in the city, but not just River Terrace. I mean, we're one Tigard. It's not just River Terrace 1.0, River Terrace 2.0. This is all of Tigard. So if we can look at it holistically, I really do think that will help service in the long term, as Council President Wolf had mentioned, because this is decades of planning that we're looking at. So once an opportunity that we can get it right. And I am concerned that we are focusing more on density housing, less on public space. I also, too, think we need to look at the park SDCs and the rec fees. I think we need to get input again. And having been at National Night Out, where at least 3 linear parks were used by the neighbors to really welcome both the police but also counselors and others, I'm really concerned that we'd be taking some of those linear parks away. So those are just my initial thoughts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Guzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree it's a great idea to have those, higher quality parks. I was also a little bit concerned about the drop-in acreage. One thing that I did want to note, though, in terms of the acreage is looking at the future Losage property, which is right there attached to that River Terrace 2.0 South, would increase that acreage per 1,000 as well. So it's not as big a drop if you incorporate that into it, but still.
Councilor Schlack.
Thank you. A couple of questions. So first one, just right off the bat, because I'm still learning all the official terminology for maps, or for different park types, so it's helpful for me to have comparisons. If we're talking about putting in one community park, is that sort of a Summer Lake Park-sized park, or would it be a smaller one?
The proposal that Brittany shared was quite a bit smaller. Just as comparison, Blueberry Hill Park is designated as a community park. That's fairly small. That's just about 8 acres. And so it would be, 10 to 12 acres for the, proposed park that was shown there. So if you've been out to Blueberry Hill, that gives you a perspective on.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Second question is dog parks. Because I know, we're trying to fit a lot of high-density housing in. It's not like there's going to be a lot of large quarter-acre lots where you can, let your dog run around. People are going to need open spaces to take their dogs. Is that going to be incorporated as part of the concept plan here? Because I think that there is one over at Blueberry Hill Park, but most people are not going to walk up or drive over to Roy Rogers, or I think that's our expectation would be that we would not want them to. So are there plans to incorporate 1 or 2 of those?
So our plans at this point would be through the development code updates that we would provide kind of a menu of options that development could incorporate into the parks that they build and design. So we wouldn't be requiring that any one dog park or multiple dog parks get developed in River Terrace 2.0, but it would absolutely be allowed. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, and that's how the dog park came about in 1.0, was that it was really pushed forward by the developer to build that. It wasn't us saying put in a dog park. They asked if they could, and it met the code requirement.
Cool. Regarding sports fields and in that, I'm also concerned about making sure that if we do have open spaces, there is a spot where your kid could go, or adult play, soccer, or, I know people like pickleball, but, actual tennis courts that are preserved. What would and I also recognize based on the amount of space there and living by Blueberry Hill Park, 10 to 12 acres is not going to be a huge amount of space. What would the process look like for choosing what sort of options would be available, if any?
I guess back to the ball fields.
Yeah.
It's really depends on, what are the expectations that are being met. If we're looking to put in a ball field versus a sports complex, I mean, what are we trying to accomplish? For example, everybody's mentioned Cook Park and the fields there. We also have ball fields at Dirksen and at Summer Lake. But the Summer Lake is one field, right? And so I guess it's meeting, what is the expectation of council, in terms of what you want to see there? I guess when we talk, maybe just kind of we're all together on the same page. There's a difference between a ball field to play on, to recreate on, versus the idea that this is going to somehow be a sports complex. One of the challenges at Losich, and I'd love to come back to you with another time with a concept that Councilor Gaduzzi is aware about, is at Losich, which is a urban ag and natural resource education center. But when we were originally planning that site for a sports complex, before we found out we couldn't, was the enormous amount of parking that is required. So Losich is just under 30 acres. There was a proposed, 3 to 4 mixed-use ball fields that would be out there. But the challenger not only was parking, the amount of space that's needed if you're planning to use a ball field to host games and tournaments. Clearly there's no amount of size at River Terrace 2.0 to be able to accomplish that. But if you look at just creating a ball field, it's much different story. If you take a typical football field or lacrosse field, soccer field, it's all pretty much the same. It's about 1.5 acres in terms of having a playable, if you wanted to have kids play a soccer game or that can be accomplished very easily, but if there's a public expectation that sports fields are coming there, we can't accomplish that in that space, considering the amount of parking that's also required to go with that concept. So in trying to find that balance, Councilor Shaw, that you were mentioning, carving out a couple of acres for ball field space is certainly doable, but it's more for just community to recreate versus compete. So that might be the difference.
That makes...
Last question.
Last question. Okay.
We're out of time.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, do you do any consultation or coordination with Tigard-Tualatin School District or Beaverton School District? Because I know when I used to grow up in the unincorporated area and I wanted to go play baseball with my friends or soccer, we would just go up to Shoals Heights Elementary School because they did have those sporting fields and those opportunities. We have Mountainside right at the top with football and baseball and tennis courts. We have Art Rutkin by South. So I'm wondering how that factors in.
So we're very much in conversation with the school district. We actually activated Fowler Middle School this last summer. We'll do so again possibly next summer if construction isn't taking place. They're very much in favor of us, like Metzger School Park, that we have under an IGA, that we can add additional school spaces. That's certainly in the option that we can look at, Councilor Schlack.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the really good presentation and robust discussion. I think this opportunity for more discussion, we'll bring it back, but in the meantime, I think for me, it will be helpful. I also want to see a good balance, but it'll be helpful for me visually if we have this is what, if you want this is what it's going to cost, and what are the constraint or benefits. So things like that will be more helpful to me visually. So, yeah. So.
Thing just to give you a visual reference. You've all been out to Sunrise Park, the reservoir site. So we purposely designed that upper field not to be necessarily a ball field, but to be open space. Kids can play, kick soccer balls or throw frisbees around. There's an example of how we've incorporated more active recreation without creating a true ball field, but made sure that, with our landscape plan, that we created that upper area to be used in a way that, kind of might help compromise if we're constrained on space.
Yeah, and also, I think one of the goal we have is to create more, maybe the small A, affordable housing. But if we are trying to make a flagship sports field, I wonder how much in term SDC that's going to cost us, right? Or in term, and so there's this balance of affordability of housing versus do we really want a ball field? So that's why I'm asking for sort of a comparison of option A. If this is what we want, this is how much it's going to cost, SDC in ongoing maintenance and things like that. For me, at least personally, that would be very helpful. So, yeah, so go ahead.
Just sorry to extend this beyond the scheduled time, but I think I don't want to see it as a trade-off because realistically, if we're trying to have a large amount of high-density housing, no one's going to have yards or personal green areas to be in. So we have to put in more park space in there. I think in River Terrace 1.0 in this west section, we have Sabrina Park. That's the one sort of park area. There's no ball field. There is a play structure. There's sort of a gazebo structure where you can have a picnic, but there's not much space there. And if we're going to have an even higher density than we have in River Terrace 1.0, then having a community park in some of those options, I think, is non-negotiable. And that's the one remark I'd like to add.
Okay. All right, so thank you so much. All right, there being no additional items, this meeting is adjourned, so good night, Tiger.